So pillar 3 is training consistency, and I would truly say this is the strongest predictor of a successful low rehab process. Often or not, the people who do not stay consistent during an 8 to 12 week rehab process are often or not going to be the ones that come back with a flare up. And it's a shame. So consistency needs to be really dialed in. And what I mean by consistency is when things are consistent with rehab, you adhere to your program, you adhere to your nutrition, your sleep, we'll see a significant reduction in flare risk. We'll see a reduction in pain, but often or not, we'll see a reduction in how often your pain reoccurs. When you look at the research, supervised and consistent exercise programs will reduce that reoccurrence of low back pain up to about 40%. So that's why it's really important. Now, it doesn't mean that we have to have a particular exercise in our training that's going to be magical. Not a particular machine or modality or exercise is not going to help us here. So what it looks like in practice is we'll always use some sort of daily or every other day rehab. And it doesn't have to be significantly long. It just needs to be somewhere between 10 and 20 minutes that dials in the work we've already established from the assessment that we need to put in. Frequency will always beat volume here. So we need to be really, really important when it comes down to building a resilience back. So showing up every single day, even if it's short and simple, will keep the nervous system regulated. It will keep the body adapted. It will keep the mind sharp. Consistent progression week on week is really, really important. And I've got to be honest, this is what shifts that mindset. If you can rely on building a consistent routine, you've already built a habit. And for me, habits will build a much better mindset because motivation dips, but habits don't. If you break a habit, just make sure you do not break it again and again and again because you've just built a new habit. So habits is a really important term that I use within a rehab process. And us at Move will always make sure habits are the forefront of that long-term rehab mindset. When it comes into pillar 4, this is where habits do allow us to safely adapt to our training week because there needs to be recovery in there. So recovery comes under 3 important strategies: your sleep, your nutrition, and how you manage your stress. Now, recovery will sit into 2 separate parts here. How do you manage your body on a day-to-day, and how do you manage it when a flare-up occurs? So recovery comes down to, like I've said, sleep, stress, and nutrition. Average 7 to 9 hours of sleep is a really, really solid number to achieve. And if we can keep that consistent, fantastic. So the issue with poor sleep is that it can reduce your ability to repair tissues and it can increase how your pain sensitivity is heightened. If your sleep's disrupted, your pain experience can be worse. Nutrition, anti-inflammatory, and adequate protein are 2 important things to consider here. When a flare-up occurs, the first thing we need to prioritize is pain relief. Paracetamol, up to 1 gram 4 times a day, is what's going to allow us to desensitize that nervous system. In simple terms, your brain's threat signal to pain can slowly start coming down. It doesn't mask anything, it just allows the system just to calm down a little bit so we can slowly start moving, which means gentle movement is achievable. Supine pelvic tilts are my absolute go-to. Lying on our back, using a pelvic up and a pelvic down cue just allows us to understand where our limitations are. An anterior tilt, where your back comes off the floor, replicates an extension-based movement. A posterior tilt drill allows us to understand what flexion is feeling like. If we're having a flare-up that allows us not to touch our toes or bend or lift our leg above 90 degrees, what we need to focus on is using a pelvic tilt drill to figure out our bearings, to slowly move the pelvis within those safe ranges. And I'll always use breathing with this in conjunction too. Really simple way to think about this. In this pelvic tilt drill, lying on your back, feet flat on the floor, slow breath in through the nose as you gently tilt your pelvis away from the floor. And you're going to hold this for 4 seconds. You're then going to slowly exhale through your mouth as your posterior tilt slowly comes in as well. And you're going to aim for roughly 6 to 15 seconds here. And when you get to the end, hold for another 3 seconds. If you can do 3 reps consistently, amazing. Your goal is get to 10. The average is 1 to 3. You'll slowly struggle to get the breath in, and ultimately you'll fail the rep. That's a good target for you. If you can get to 10, awesome. And then step 3 is just reducing that load. So step count and training intensity are 2 areas to consider here. Step count below 5,000 a day. And when you're at the gym, just drop the RP down. If your RP is 8 to 10 on a usual training day, drop it down to 6 to 7. RPE just means rate perceived exertion. If you're working to 10 and 10, you work to full fatigue. If you leave 2 to 3 reps in a tank, you're working at RP 8 to 7. The goal is just to stay active. We don't want to aggravate things. We just want to keep moving because that's going to maintain confidence and it's going to prevent deconditioning. And one important thing I need to mention is red flags. If someone presents with pain down both legs or numbness, we need to appreciate this needs to be referred on. This is the risk of cauda equina. We'll often find bladder or bowel changes, numbness when going to the toilet and wiping, or non-mechanical night pain. So you wake up with sharp pain because you've not really moved. That sometimes suggests that something internally isn't right. Or we're seeing over a period of months a significant amount of unexplained weight loss. If these are found, you need to go to A&E immediately. In the final video, I'm going to go through pillar 5 and then go through the 2 really important case studies which will really drive home what the importance is of these 5 pillars.